You might expect an imam to spend a lot of time reading, thinking, and offering spiritual advice. Our next guest does that. That is, when he's not training on his bike or lacing up a pair of rollerblades. It is to prepare for a nearly 500-kilometre trip he is planning later this month to shake up the image of Muslim leaders and also to raise awareness about organ donation. Tonight, Imam Mohammed Jibara, known as the Cycling Cleric, is holding a fundraiser at Basmati Restaurant on Somerset, and this morning he's in our studio. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me on.
It seems like your cycling trip to Toronto has two goals. Let's talk about the first of them, to shake up the image of Muslim leaders. What do you think needs shaking up exactly?
Well, I think the aspect of a healthy balance between expressing our faith and at the same time being Canadians and living in the modern world. And I think that there's always a stereotype, because anytime I go to places like, you don't look like, the typical imam, right? Is what I hear. And so it's like, what is a typical imam? Like, they expect somebody who's old, who's out of shape, right? And I don't think that that's the image that we would like to present, because historically most imams in history were very young. Like when the Prophet Muhammad placed an imam at the holiest mosque in Islam in Mecca, he chose a 16-year-old as the chief imam of Mecca, which people would find, okay, why would he choose somebody so young? And wherever he chose imams, he'd always choose young people, not older people, because he wanted people who had the energy, he wanted people who could connect to the youth, because they're the ones who need it most. The older people are more or less set in their ways, but young people need somebody that they can identify with, and somebody who's like them. And if they're different, it makes it hard to identify with somebody who's just so different than you. So you want somebody who has a lot of the same passions and the same interests that young people have, which is today we have a lot of that in sports.
Exactly. Well, why did you want to become an imam in the first place?
I love people, and I love helping people and seeing people improve and become better. And being an imam is about doing that. It's about being with the people, of the people, empathizing with the people, making a positive difference in people's lives.
I wonder what you think. I mean, you talked about young versus old imams, and I'm thinking about a different project that was in Ottawa about 6 months ago called Meet a Muslim, and that was where Muslim families went and had dinner with another Ottawa family. And it sounds like that was kind of the same purpose, to kind of shatter the stereotype that people might have of Muslims. In particular, what bothers you about maybe this perceived stereotype that's out there?
Well, unfortunately, the stereotype is quite accurate. That's what makes it, a problem, because a lot of times that's what people expect of imams, to be old, not to be in shape. That's what they're expecting them to do. And we want to change that, because the reality is most young people and most people in general don't go to mosques. They're not in the religious environment because they don't find that they fit in. They don't find their needs and their requirements are met and nourished properly. So I think we have to change the way that we do our ministry, and we have to move it from being in institutions and buildings to be with the people out there. The way that the prophets of the past did, the way the Prophet Muhammad and Christ, peace be upon them, the way that they were with the people. They weren't just sitting in some old building and waiting for people to come so they can preach at them. They were with the people, feeling with them, and feeling their living their problems out with them and making them feel that, look, you know what, we're one of you.
This is not the first time that you've done this. You cycled and rollerbladed 500 kilometers to Quebec City last summer to raise money for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. What reaction did you get from people along the way?
I found people, it was actually when I was going, I was like, okay, how are people going to react? Because this is the time when the charter was being discussed, and I said, okay, how are people going to have negative views? Actually, everyone I met along the way, and a lot of them were people who had never seen a Muslim, let alone an imam, before. They were very positive because I told them what I was doing, and people found it fascinating, and there were actually a lot of people wanted to take my pictures with me, and we chatted, and it was really nice. I had to speak in French, of course, because a lot of them couldn't speak English, but which is great because it was a great chance to practice my French. But people were very supportive, and I think a lot of times people have misunderstandings because they might not know something. And I think instead of getting upset when people have issues with us, that we should be out there to to break down the stereotypes by showing, okay, you know what you might perceive is not really the reality, and this is what it is. Here we are. We're people like you.
What was the most profound question that you were asked along the route last year?
People were surprised to see, a member of the clergy doing something that benefits everybody. Because it's usually, if you're a member of the clergy, then you're doing something that relates to religion. Or if you're cycling, then you're fundraising for a church or a mosque or a synagogue or a temple, etc. Right? Not for a cause that benefits everybody, that has no religious, connotations to it, that is just, for everyone, for all people. And I think that that's what religion should truly be about. It's about serving all people.
And this, the second point of your trip, so not just to raise awareness and shake up the image of Muslim leaders, but is to raise awareness for organ donation,
Yes,
trying
indeed.
to get people to sign their organ donor cards. Now, some object to the practice for religious reasons. How do you convince them that it's a worthy thing to do as a religious leader?
I believe that in Islam, just like in a lot of religions in the world, that the salvation of life takes priority. And any objections that might arise are because, faith wants to honor humanity and treat people with dignity, right? So when you're donating your organs, you're actually raising humanity. You're not degrading people, and you're saving lives. And at the same time, there's no worry about the bodies being desecrated because they're treated very well, especially by our doctors, who are quite respectful in that manner.
Is this issue, is it personal to you in any way in particular? Do you know anybody who has benefited from an organ donation?
I personally don't, but I think that every human out there is my family. And when other people benefit and seeing other people happy that they're benefiting, that is close to my heart. And that to myself is touching. And that's what I want to do it for all people.
Well, best of luck. You look like you're in pretty great shape. You've been training a lot for this, have you?
Yes, I have, indeed.
Do you have special biking shorts that you wear with some padding on them?
Yes, I do.
Good man. All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me
And good
this
luck with
morning.
your trip. I'll tell people about your fundraiser tonight. That's Mohammed Jibara. He is an imam at the Cordova Spiritual Education Center in Ottawa. He's also known as the Cycling Cleric, and you can find out more about his forthcoming trip at cyclingcleric.ca, or you can go and meet him in person, which is what he wants you to do. Get out of the confines of the mosque and or anywhere, and in person. So he's going to be at the Basmati restaurant on Somerset tonight at 6 p.m. for a fundraising dinner.